Yeah, so this murderer is free now. A woman's life is worth 7 years. He's sorry. He's so sorry. There's one thing that we love. It's a redemption story about a white man. This video is about Oscar, but I just did a video today about Shia, who's so sorry torturing his exes. And he just, joined the church, is going to be a deacon. And all these likely pedophiles have accepted that he's sorry. It just takes being baptized or christened or whatever you call it. We're all good. We're all good. The women left in his wake, I'm sure they'll be fine. Do not forget what this man did, especially when FKA Twigs' case comes about and what he did to that amazing woman. Do not forget what he did. Before I tell you about what a hard life Oscar's going to have now, just remember that there's no way he could have done it if he cried this hard in court. If there's one thing that narcissist abusers are not capable of doing, it's fake crying. I mean, talk about dramatic. You want to meet dramatic men? Date a narcissist. This dude had a puke bucket next to him because he's just so torn up about murdering somebody. The woman he loved after only 8 weeks of dating, by the way. What I really do love about this article is drawing attention to these men's redemption story and their tears. Do not believe it. They're not sorry. They're not reformed. They literally just don't want to suffer consequences of their actions. That's it. If you can look past his anguish and the bucket and his weeping, just remember, domestic abusers tend to show a lot of strong emotion whenever they manipulate their victims and when they manipulate the press or anyone else when talking about their victims. And a little friendly reminder, if they were robots, nobody would date them or be with them. These men are very good at being able to display a lot of human emotion, but they are very calculated and controlling while doing so. They are like Oscar level, did not mean to make that joke. Oscar level actors. They could literally win awards for how well they can just turn on the tears when they need to manipulate you, which is another reason why I can't stand Jordan Peterson and all those dudes. Those men are not crying for real. They're crying because they see themselves as victims, not because they're actually tapping into genuine emotion. They cry to manipulate. And crying is not the problem. Just like white women, men have learned that crying on demand in certain situations is how they maintain power and control and spin the narrative. And if you don't know what I'm talking about and you're a white woman, research the study on white tears, okay? That's another video. While we're on the topic of using white tears for racism, Oscar did that too. This man tried everything to get out of being accountable for unaliving a woman. When they wrote about this in this horrific article, I'm not even going to tell you where it's from because I don't want you to look it up. Look at all this. That, Oscar was constantly trying to use his fear of somebody in this South African community of certain people unaliving him. And that's why he had so many pew-pew and was so trigger happy. Not because, I don't know, he was a pew-pew fanatic and went to the firing range. He had 10 weapons, including an AK-47. Like this man, he was not afraid. He was a violent, controlling, narcissistic abuser, period. And he used racist dog whistles to try to get out of schmurder. Luckily, it didn't really work, although he only got 7 years. But it didn't work in terms of finding him innocent or whatever. Look at the way the media, now, I know this is The Sun and they're unbelievably racist and misogynistic. I've told y'all, they literally ran a piece shaming me years ago. So I hate them. This is actually not that far off from how we talk about men. When men are abusers, look at this. Oh, he's swapping. In reality, he's only swapping a jail cell for a life in an armed fortress. Oh, poor baby's gotta be protected. Police warned him he will be a target for underworld figures. Who are you talking about? I mean, part of it, they're talking about the victim's father. But okay, they're also, we know what they're talking about. This is still racist. Angry victims of the victim's father. They're literally like, oh my God, there's going to be hitmen out for you. It's so unfair. You might as well be in jail if you have to hide in your mansion. Look how they frame this. Inside, at least he had some protection. With the dozen inmates, he considered trusted friends and special measures to ensure his safety. I'm so glad they're so worried about this man's safety. They don't care about women's safety. And they definitely don't care about Black, Indigenous, and other women of color safety. But oh my God, let's protect the prisoner who unalived a woman. Poor little schmurderer. Now he will face death threats without his inmate friends to protect him. God! Instead, relying on protection from his Uncle Arnold, who is to house him at his £2 million pound, I think it's a pound, 3-story mansion in suburbs. Wow, that's gonna be so hard. By the way, his uncle made millions from property. Probably a slumlord in addition to all this other crap. He's hired armed guards with attack dogs, has put up razor wire and electric fences to keep his favorite nephew safe. This is a little baby boy, a little nephew. Look at this. Oscar will live in a 5-star cottage in the grounds complete with panic alarms. Oh, great. Front gatehouse and armed security protecting the rear. Like, can you make sure there's no women in this little armed fortress? Like, between that and calling this racist dog whistles and calling the woman he unalived her father, basically like a gangster who's got hitmen out for him. Like, that is how they're framing all this. This whole thing, the uncle, Oscar, the media, like, poor little Oscar, I hope he's okay. Oh, but look, remember when we learned how Brock Turner, his dad was like, yeah, he's gonna miss eating, pretzels? They were so specific about these little boy snacks. Look, Oscar, he's looking forward to home-cooked lasagna in the fortified college and watching his favorite movies like Snatch and Full Metal Jacket. Blech! He wants to return to normality. Silly people mad about him getting out of jail or making that hard. Look at this. One of his friends said that, Oscar, it's common knowledge Oscar was a target. You know what? Do you see how they laugh in our face when they frame stories like this? We are supposed to be so worried about him being a target. And now he just wants people to leave him in peace. All him and his wife wanted was for this man to admit it. Wouldn't do it. He would not do it. He would not give that family even that little bit of peace. And also notice how they talk about Reva. This woman was a model, okay? Look at this woman. She looks so glamorous, right? This is how they describe her, though. That's it. Pose for Maxim magazine pinup. Call him unaliving her a little rogue. He spent 5 years behind bars in the hellhole, but he lived in the hospital wing, so a gang member could not get to him. That's another racist dog whistle right there. He was terrified of being attacked or poisoned. He had to eat 10 food from the prison shop. He was never allowed out with the general population of jail people. Like he wanted to be. Come on. I'm sure he thinks he's above all of them. In 2016, the poor guy did get a little bit of a break. He was moved where he had his own bath and toilet to avoid being attacked in communal showers by members of a brutal gang. Brutal. Y'all, this language. But look, him and Shia should be buddies because Oscar also turned to religion and took weekly Bible classes. That'll do it. Also educated illiterate prisoner and was allowed to mail and write letters and was allowed his own allotment to grow vegetables. See, y'all, he's a farmer. He learned how to farm. He studied the Bible. All good now. All good now. Let's just let him move on and live in his little mansion with guard dogs. But, he fears parole. Oh. He fears for his safety. He can't walk down the street or go to shops or bars. He can't even go to his safe place in Italy because this stupid government won't let him leave the country. He really wanted to be forgiven by her parents, but wouldn't do the one thing they asked. He cared more about that than parole. Sure. They're worried he won't be able to cope with no longer being the center of attention and a superstar. So even like this Bill Schroeder dude, who is the guy who keeps talking about Oscar, he was his former headmaster or whatever. Like even Oscar's friends know he did it. Even though he goes into this whole thing like, you have to remember, he had a hard life. His mother died when he was 15. He had both legs amputated at 11 months. His father was never there for him. Like, of course he's going to end up unaliving his girlfriend. But look at this. Look at this. By the time he was 16 or 17, Oscar was arrogant and narcissistic. I had always thought he was an accident waiting to happen, but it shook me when I heard he shot Reva. And Oscar even still insisted to this dude, it was an accident. Even this guy was like, I find it very hard to believe, because he was in court. Very hard to believe that this was an accident. But, try to stay neutral. So, if the people who know him are like, yeah, he did it, maybe Oscar should be worried. But his fear should not be our concern. And it certainly shouldn't be centered. And if people want to go after him for what he did, I'm not judging them. But the way they frame this, again, I don't know if he'll be able to cope with no longer being a center of attention and the superstar everybody wanted to be around. He will always be looking over his shoulder. Oh, welcome to being a woman. Boo hoo. Like, this stuff comes out of men's mouths. And they're like, I can't imagine having to live like a prisoner who murdered somebody and have to look over my shoulder. Can you imagine? No. Can't imagine that. Can't imagine that just walking to the grocery store. So Reva's mother said that she believes that her husband Barry died of a broken heart. And she's not convinced that Oscar has been rehabilitated. And I love this quote right here. Nobody can claim to have remorse if they're not able to engage fully with the truth. Right? Like, that is the foundation of forgiveness and making amends, or even have any kind of sorrow or guilt. Like, if you won't even admit you did it, you're never going to be reformed. Lock him back up. Lock this guy up who still sees himself as a victim. Like this, the snot, and the buckets. I'm telling y'all, please do not believe men, especially if you're dating one, who cries when he says he's sorry. He's not sorry. They know how to manipulate us. They're so good. And they have the audacity to call women manipulative. Okay, brah. But now he's out, y'all. Now he's out. So that piece for the Sun, a trash. Like, I read that, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I think. But now he's out. Just got released. And besides not being able to go to Italy, poor babe, he's under parole supervision till 2029. What, 5 years? He's only 37. This man has his whole life ahead of him. I didn't even realize he was that young. God. He's expected to live with his family in the little bit mansion, the fortress. I love how they leave that detail out here. At least, like, the trashy son was like, yeah, he's going to live in a mansion. And he, must remain in South Africa, like in his hometown. And he must also attend rehabilitation programs and is barred from consuming alcohol or any banned substances. How do they check for that? I'm curious. Are they really going to check for that? And anybody who knows narcissist abusers, have you ever met them when they can't have access to they're worse. My ex, I would literally give him money to go buy because he was such more of a prick and moody when he wasn't high. So good luck with that. I hope the family's gonna be okay. I guess the family has maybe changed their mind about him being let out early, and they're somewhat comforted by the fact that he's going to be attending programs on gender-based violence and anger management. Y'all, that stuff doesn't work for most people. Most men, it doesn't work. I'm not saying it never works. But a man has to be able to see himself and admit the truth to himself before any reform can happen. And this man won't even admit what he did. But I'm not too worried about Oscar, despite the fact that he lost weight. The poor guy really couldn't train while he was in prison. He did find religion and tries not to upset anybody. And friends are worried that he's going to be shocked when he goes back to the real world, a very different world where gender-based violence is now taken far more seriously. Clearly it's taken seriously. He's out of jail after 7 years and gets to live in a mansion. See? The world has changed. And friends who were once perhaps very close to him may now look at the other way when they see him. I don't know that guy. Can you imagine going to prison for like, pew-pewing your girlfriend, and then you come out and none of your friends will talk to you. Can you imagine that level of pain? And also having to look out around you to make sure no one's gonna harm you. I just can't. I can't. I feel so bad for this guy. Come on! These men are sorry. What else could we want from them other than justice, accountability, financial reparations for all the harm they put their victims through? I don't know, just a little bit less easy of a life, if not a lot less, and making sure that they don't torture and unalive any more women. I mean, I know it's a lot, but you know what? We should be grateful that they're going to church, studying their little Bible, and cried. They're sorry. We just need to get over it. Gender-based violence, it's taken seriously now. So ladies, just short the fork up and move on, okay? Please don't forget to subscribe, get notifications, comment, like, share, any of that stuff. It really helps me grow my channel and make sure that y'all see this content because it means a lot to me and this information getting out there. So anyway, thank you for your love and support and for being here. If you made it this far, congratulations, because it's a really hard topic. I hope I didn't trigger anybody.